Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Kintan Putri Suci. My ID number is 18, 21, 22, 0, and 16. And here I am as the next presenter from the group 5 who deliver the material about how to adapt the materials. So, happy watching. So here, as a teacher, we adapt the material from commercial textbook. So what is commercial textbook actually? Commercial textbook is a textbook that used in teaching learning process both for teacher and students. If for teacher, it called as teacher's book, and for student, it called as student's book. The teacher's book, it help the teacher to prepare all the things that's needed in the teaching learning process, such as how to make a lesson plan and how to teach the material as well as the content. And then for student's book, it provides a source of knowledge that used in the learning process in the language learning for student itself. Yeah, commercial textbook can seldom be used without some form of adaptation to make them more suitable for the particular context in which they will be used. This adaptation may take a variety of forms. Alright, so commercial textbook is of course need to be adapted because of why? Because commercial textbook here is made for globally market and it is not specifically specified based on a particular current situation in teaching learning process. So of course not all of the content material in the textbook would totally match with our situation or characteristic in the teaching learning process, whether it is come from the students or cultural background or situation and condition and many more. So adaptation here take a variety of forms. For the first, there is modifying content. Alright, so what is modifying content? Content may need to be changed because it does not suit the target learners, perhaps because of factors related to the learner's age, gender, social class, occupation, religion, or cultural background, as I mentioned before. So here from the textbook, we modified some aspect in the content material that is not suitable with our characteristic in the teaching learning process. For example, the content of the material in the textbook is too long or use a language that is not familiar with the student's level. So of course the teacher here may modify the material or the language itself based on the student's level. And another of that, for example, the aim of the content of the material, it does not suit with our goals that have been planned. It may be modified. So there are so many factors that make the teacher need to adapt the content of the material from the textbook. Alright, so here modifying including rewriting and restructuring in internal change in the approach or exercise in the classroom. Alright, for the first, there is rewriting. Rewriting is done when some linguistic content needs modification. It is currently the most frequently done because there is a need for the materials to be more communicative. Alright, so here it means that it wants the learning process become more communicative between teachers, students, or between students itself. For example, some textbook may be oftenly used of non-familiar language that's not fit with students' needs or students' level, and it is cannot be used in daily life. So the teacher here may modify it into a language that familiar with students or that would be able to be applied in real life application. That is example. Another of that, for example, a teacher asks a question to students and then the students need to answer it. So the teacher here need to tell the question orally, and then after that write the question in the whiteboard in order to make the students able to interpret the questions in a more time. That is another example. And then for the second, there is restructuring. Restructuring here applies to classroom management. For many teachers who are required to strictly follow course book, changes in the structuring of the class are sometimes the only kind of adaptation that is realistically possible. Yeah, some teachers maybe manage the classroom based on the course book or commercial textbook to manage the classroom, but sometimes a teacher also may modify the classroom management based on their own strategy in order to make the classroom become more meaningful for students, and then in order to make the students able to experience the material by themselves. For example, if the students if the teacher wants the students to fill in the grammar, in the activity. So the teacher here may use a game such as leaderboard game or snake. So the teacher and the students here would like to to feel that this activity is more meaningful, and another of that, it make the students able to participate themselves or involve themselves in the related material. So the students feel more aware and then experience more the related material. This is the second. And then next, there is modifying task. Exercise and activities may need to be changed to give them additional focus. Listening activity may only focus on listening for information for twice or third time for different purpose. An activity may be extended to provide opportunities for more personalized practice. So here the teacher modify the task in order to make the students able to get much time for them to get involved in the in the related material. As I mentioned before, example, the teacher give an audio to students and then the students listen it for twice or third time. So this activity is not really facilitate the students in learning their skill or in experiencing the material. So teacher may modify the task. For example, the teacher give a task to students as their homework to listen to the audio, so the students would be able to listen to the audio for many times and then experience themselves in the material in the more times or training themselves in the skill. And then the last, there is adding or deleting content. The book may contain too much or too little for the program. Whole units may have to be dropped, or perhaps section of units throughout the book omitted, because course may focus primarily on listening and speaking skills, and hence writing activities in the book will be omitted. So we may delete the content of the material if the content of the material is not what we focus about. For example, as I mentioned before, if the subject that we teach to students is focused to listening and speaking skills, so we just focus to the content of the material that discuss about these two skills. So for if there are another content that out of our focus, we may just omit it if it is not really help us in the learning process. So that's all my explanation about how to adapt the material. The next point would be delivered by Tita Alisa. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.